Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Fueled by Progress, hosted by me, Mark Joseph Szymanski. Terrific guest today, Carlo Sorco. What's up, buddy?
Oh, not too much. Not too much. Happy to be here. I got some Dunkin' Donuts coffee and ready to have a nice little conversation.
There you go. There you go. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Thanks so much.
Oh, yeah, dude. I was happy to do it. I was excited.
So we are, as some of the viewers might know, and as you obviously know, because you're sitting here, we're in my parents' garage over in Crafton, and it's fitting. There's obviously been some other guests in here, but it's fitting for you specifically and I because our relationship, I think, starts way back, right outside the garage here in the yard, playing wiffle ball back in the day, and in the streets of Crafton. So.
Oh, yeah. I think we probably met. I would imagine we probably met as little kids in CIT. I would imagine where we first
right
met.
over the hill, yeah.
And then I remember hung out with kids over here, and then your yard became like the inaugural wiffle ball court. And I think we even had an Excel sheet at Jesse's back in the day with like the standings and everything.
Oh man, dude, I wish I could find those files.
Oh, me too. His brother might still have them, but I just remember how seriously we took it. Could not have been more fun.
Yeah, it was a time, man. Sometimes I wish I can kind of go back to those just because it was like an easier time. But ultimately, I think both of us we've gotten pretty far since then, obviously. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of jump in here with you is you being like a full-time real estate agent now and everything like that. I'm interested, like we were talking about before the show, before we went on air here. It's interesting how you go from hanging out with people like all the time, right? Just kids in your neighborhood and everything, and then one day there's that saying where it's like you never know when like the last day you were gonna go out and play wiffle ball, right? Which is kind of sad in a way, but we could go out. We can go out like when we're done here and play if you want.
Dude, I will home run derby the hell out of you, man. Like I'm not. I will still do that. I will crutch those balls in my neighbor's yard.
Absolutely, brother. I know the feeling. And it's interesting that is that happens, right? So at some point it's like you never know when the last game is or whatever. And I'm interested because we haven't. We had a couple meetings here and there, like we spoke about, but how have you gotten to this point? Like, what was your kind of path and everything? Like, college and all that sort of stuff. Give us some context of like what's just to catch up.
So it's kind of I guess I'll start kind of from a little bit back. It's kind of a long story because it's kind of ridiculous why I even ended up as a realtor.
Yeah.
So I guess out of high school, like most kids, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. Did the whole CCA thing for like a year and a half, something like that, just to take my gen eds.
Yeah.
Transferred to Slippery Rock for computer science. Like I was sure I was going to be a computer programmer.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law did IT. I shouted him like, "This is it." I get to Slippery Rock and probably I had one major class my first semester. I walk in and the guy literally goes, "You guys need to take apart these entire computers and rebuild them by the end of class." And it was literally worth like 50 points.
Jeez.
Everybody left like halfway through. I was still there like 15 minutes after and like didn't even have it taken apart fully.
Oh my God.
And my guy just stopped me and he was like, "I'm going to have to fail you on this." So that, and then I think the next class we had like a computer programming homework on like C++ or something.
Yeah.
Couldn't figure it out for the life of me. Went down to like the general office or whatever and I just dropped the hell out of that like wildfire, dude. And I'm like, this major's not for me. My parents weren't super excited.
Yeah.
So I kind of like had to try to figure out what I wanted to do. And I ended up picking teaching because I really liked history.
Yeah.
And I've always been passionate with just like kids in general. And I like learning. So I thought it'd be cool, which I did like. I got through it. I want to say my final GPA at Slippery Rock was like a 3.9 or something. Like I wasn't bad at school. I did really well at it. I got to my student teaching semester and did like 2 weeks of student teaching my last semester I was there. And then I would have had the full semester. Like I got in the classroom and realized like I really just actually hated it.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I already spent all this money and I really don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And not that everything's financial, but I also, once I was already kind of down on the major, I started looking up like how much I would really make.
Right.
A lot of the numbers weren't like fantastic to me. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I talked to my parents, and not that they wanted this, but I was basically like, I need to just like, I've always been really about the grind in general. That's how I had good grades, this and that. But I'm like, I'm starting to lose that motivation because I would literally study, get like a 4.0 for the semester, and it like wouldn't really have any accomplishment.
Right.
So like I explained to my parents, like they obviously weren't happy, but they understood. Ended up dropping out of school,
Mhm.
which is probably a very ill-advised thing. So I wouldn't follow that lead.
Yeah.
So I fully just dropped out and went to work. Like did my real estate classes, went to be a realtor, and also got a job. When I first started, I worked as a laborer for Craft and Public Works,
Mhm.
like 3 days a week, just to have money for
Right.
like marketing this and that.
Yeah.
Reason I got into real estate is literally when I was gonna drop out, I had like no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Well, my grandpap was a realtor, my mom is a realtor, and my great grandpap was an appraiser. So it's like she's like, this is something you should try. She's like, I think it might be good for you. It's basically in your blood anyways. Well, thank the actual Lord, like it worked out, and that's basically like long story short.
Yeah.
How I got to being a realtor. Basically, everything else failed, and thank God my last option was the only one I truly ever liked.
Well, I guess that's good luck then. Yeah.
Yeah, thank God.
But that's really interesting though that you say. I obviously know that your mom is a realtor. You guys are currently on a team, right?
Yep, we work together. Have one other person we just brought on, like admin, transaction coordinator, however you want to call it.
Yeah. So it's interesting that that it kind of it's in your, like you said, it's in your blood. I mean, your grandpap and then your great grandpap, like sort of in the same type of industry to a certain degree, right? That's something obviously I come from a little bit of that as well. Like I wasn't a realtor myself, but I was in that field. What do you think some of the best things so far are about it? And actually, let me take a step back for a second. So are you 24 as well right now?
Yep, 24.
So how long have you been in it? When did you kind of make that switch?
So I think I've been in it, and obviously you could probably minus like 2 months I was shut down because of COVID, but
Right.
I've been in it about 2 years now. Maybe ballpark a month or two, but about 2 years now.
Gotcha. Okay, so 2 years.
So I think I was 22 or just turned 23, maybe because I'm almost 25, whatever it is, about 2 years.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, I mean, decent amount of experience there and everything like that. I mean, what are your, obviously your path, like you mentioned there, was, roundabout in college. And I think we could talk for probably about hours just about like college and stuff like that.
I can too.
How crazy that is. And, how you're like expected to kind of know exactly what you want to do at 18. I know, at least for me, that was tough. Cause I actually, it's funny you mentioned computer science. I didn't know that about you. I was in computer engineering, and then I went to computer science, and then I went to information science ultimately. And now I'm kind of doing a little bit of that. The skills are still there to a certain degree. But like at the same time, it's like, people just expect you to know what you want to do at like 18, and then make all these different decisions, and it's like, well, I don't want to do any of this.
And it's so detrimental because it's like, I get where it's coming from, because especially our parents' generation, they really were brought up with the philosophy, like, I want my kids to go to college because people with degrees make this amount of money and have this kind of life. And it really was super instilled in that generation. So my parents, I'm sure your parents, and nothing against them, because they obviously want the best for us.
Right.
They push college.
Right.
But the thing is, the reality, when you're 18, it's and this is going to be a really, like, probably not a great opinion for everybody, but my opinion is, at 18, everybody should have to at least take a year off before you go to college. Because what happens is, look at me, look at probably you.
Yeah.
I went into X amount of debt, which, by the way, I'm obviously still paying for that monthly.
Yeah.
I went into X amount of debt to be a computer scientist, which was like 5 life decisions ago.
Yeah.
And I'm paying for that from 18. I feel like if people took a year off,
Mm-hmm.
worked a job or two, realized more so what they hated than actually loved, and then they can kind of go into college and say, well, I worked for a year to get to that position I'm really jealous of. This is the major I should pick.
Right.
Or maybe I worked for a year and I'm comfortable. I'm actually moving up. I might not need to go to college at all. Let me just go get some licenses.
Right.
Or I just think it would be a better idea not to make kids jump into the huge decision. Like, what is it? $20,000 a year minimum for college.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and it just continues to compound if you go to like a better school, if you stay there and stuff like that. I know the bill just keeps on getting bigger with that. I was fortunate enough to not have like a ton of student debt, and not everybody's that fortunate, right? Obviously. So it's like the tough thing is, and I think about this all the time, is how, like you said, how am I going to raise my kids? How do you push the next, generation and stuff like that, with the things that you learn, the things that you experience. And I'm kind of with you on that. I had a slightly different, it's funny that you bring that theory up right, where you take a gap year effectively and see something. I had a theory where you should almost like be required to work some sort of job where it's like either like a manual labor type thing or like customer service, especially. If everybody worked customer service like mandatory, I think it would be a totally different world, because like you would understand. There would be so much more empathy. There'd be so much more like, if you like, so for instance, let me give you some context. My grandmother owns a restaurant, right? And little old Italian lady, you know, we're similar in so many ways.
Where's this restaurant at, first of all?
It's Coriopolis. It's like right over the Neville Island Bridge from the RMU.
What's it called?
Ray's restaurant. You've probably been past it.
I was going to say, if it's Italian, I guarantee I've been there.
I'm sure you've been past it. It's not like a little Italian place. It's kind of like a little diner. Okay. And then, yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a, you know, it's a great place. They've had it since like 91. So
super cool.
Yeah. The point of it, and the reason that I think my life has benefited from it, and I think a lot of other people, is if you work in a situation like that, whether it's a family business or something along those lines, you know, even like when you were working for Craft and Public Works, like, you know, like you get the value of a hard day's work. You get the value of either I like doing this type of thing, or now I'd rather be doing something else, like you said. So I think if everyone, like you said, had to do that, I think everybody would be like a little bit more, you know, in tune with where they want to go. Ultimately,
a lot better choices.
Yeah.
Too. Even like discounting the fact too. I realized this after doing it, but like, contrary to popular belief, I honestly think working full time, like even if it's just for a year, matures you so much faster than college does.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you go live in a dorm room, okay, day one, your parents drop you off. You're never really like on your own. You have a cafeteria for food.
Right.
You have people checking your dorms. You have a safety blanket of a supervisor.
Right.
Your only responsibilities are like make friends, have fun, and do your schoolwork, but you're not really growing up. Whereas if you're at a job, it's like, especially manual labor, be up at 5, be there at 5:30, or I'm actually going to get fired. Whereas college, you could skip classes, do whatever you want, and reasonably still get away with it.
Yeah.
I just think not only is it a good idea to make good decisions, but that year grows you up so fast if you just work for a year full time.
Yeah.
And like a job where your boss maybe is going to get on your back a little bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't know. I think a lot of people, I don't know what college is doing to, you know, kids nowadays. And I don't necessarily know if we need to go like deep into that per se, but it's just, you know, I honestly think that I went to school 4 years. I graduated with that IS degree, but I don't really know if it helped me to a degree, but I actually didn't even stay there. So like, I didn't have, you know, that piece of it. I didn't like make a ton of connections. I didn't do all that stuff. I was like just going there and coming home. It was like an extension of high school.
My last year.
Yeah, it's like it saved so much money, but it was kind of like an extension of high school. So honestly, I kind of feel that if I didn't go, I'm interested to know what my life would have been like. Wouldn't have had the debt. Wouldn't have had, you know, maybe some of the experience, but really didn't have much of it. And you know, ultimately got an internship. You know, worked at Remax for a little bit, but you know, ultimately. You know, it's just, I don't know. I think it's a really, really interesting topic that I hope a lot of people take more seriously when they have, you know, kids, and don't force shit on them. You know what I'm saying?
I feel the same way. And I know it's really tough as a parent, because you put yourself in their shoes. The sound advice seems like go to college, get a degree, get good job, work in office, have family, have suburban house. And it's like, you don't necessarily think about your kids as a parent as like, they're not the perfect human. This mold might not fit them. I think that's hard to accept as parents.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough. I had parents that were still willing to, like, you know, not completely give up on me and say you're on your own when I dropped out of college. Instead, my mom was like, well, let's train you. You have to do this, this, and this. Let's get you good at something else that might work. Where I feel my advantage was that, where a lot of people's parents would probably be like, I can't believe you dropped out of college. Leave the house and go work at a diner. Like,
right. Yeah.
So I was fortunate in a way.
Yeah.
Well, yes, they probably wasn't the perfect call recommending college. It worked for both of my sisters.
Right.
So I see where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And also I didn't know myself well enough either. So how could they?
Yeah, no, that's a big one. That right there is, I think that you have to do so much, you know, whether honestly it's like professionally or, you know, like in that case, college or wherever you're going to go later in life, even like a relationship and stuff like that. When you don't know yourself and you don't take that time to kind of fully understand what you want, I mean, it a lot of times just causes problems, you know, and unnecessary debt in the college, you know, type of thing. So, but it
Shout out
is,
Sally Mae.
yeah, Sally Mae. Oh man, but yeah, I think what you're saying there is right. Like if you don't know yourself, then how could your parents know you and like your situation, everything like that. Communication and just trying to be like upfront. That's one of the things that I, like I said, I just really hope that a lot of other people take that into consideration. As our generation grows up and doesn't force things, on their kids, because I think it'll be better overall.
I think so too. And I mean, I'd like to say our generation may view things a little bit differently. I guess we'll wait and see, but I assume probably you and me.
Yeah.
My kids, I'd encourage them to like do what I do, like give self-employment a shot if that's something they're interested in. I could only imagine, like you said, you retrospect, what if I'd have never went to college?
Right.
I could only imagine, like, the only weird thing in my mind is, like, what if I would have actually graduated college and decided to be a teacher? Like, what if I would have never found this as something I'd be able to thrive in? That's more where my mind goes. Like, I'm more scared of, like, what if I would have made the decision to graduate college instead of doing what I'm doing now, which is a weird thought to have.
Right.
The dropping out was probably the best decision I've ever made.
I mean, it's funny. It's funny how life works, like think different things, because you're absolutely right there. Probably, if you're happy now, then the other decision that very well you were on track for, it might have been worse. There's a very good chance that, you might have been in like just a shittier position. And I know that all too well when you're in a position that like isn't ideal. It's not fulfilling. You're not happy. It seems like every single day, everything that I see you do, you're enjoying it. You're making content, everything like that. So I'm so happy that you found something like that.
And it's similar to like, minus, I guess, the house selling part. It's a similar grind to what you're doing. You get to wake up. Yeah. You go like, I'm going to do this, this, and this to further myself today.
Yeah.
And you reap all your own benefits. Where like you is like just kind of like IT or whatever at Remax. It's like you wake up, you're told what to do on your list. If you want to go above and beyond that, it doesn't matter. You're going to make the same money.
It's tough.
It's a hard mindset to have.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I mean, I think that even like, step further into that realm, like, this way or that way, as far as, self-employment or W-2 employment, whatever. It's like, I've gotten to the point now where similar mindsets here, I don't understand how people can do that. I guess there are some people that just want to, do their thing, go home and be done. But that's not me. Like, I always wanted to go further. I always wanted to do more. And I did not feel that I was being, like, I don't want to say rewarded, but like I just didn't feel it wasn't fulfilling, because like you said, if you do less, you do more. It's like it
doesn't really matter as long as you get your checklist done.
It's the same outcome. So, that was super interesting. So, being in real estate for a couple years now, what would you say, and being like more so self-employed, on your team with your mom and everything like that, what would you say some of the pros and cons are there? I mean, obviously we listed a couple. But what are the biggest things that have made you like the most happy and be like, oh my God, how did I not think this?
So I'll do the pros first because, I mean, obviously there's cons in self-employment, but the pro number one is like what we just said, probably the biggest thing is waking up every day and not waking up, be able to do what you want, but not in the sense of waking up and saying, I'm going to go golfing today and then go hit the bar. Waking up and saying like, you're probably putting in more hours self-employed, but it's like, I'm going to put in 11 hours a day. After my appointments, I'm going to market this. I'm going to research how to build this network. Yeah. I'm going to research how to get for referral fees from business in Idaho. Like, you just get to wake up. You get to have ideas in your head. And by day, sometimes weekends, those ideas are coming into fruition, making you directly money, not your employer. Right. Coming directly to you. It's just such a satisfying feeling to just wake up with an idea Monday. Yeah. And then by Friday, the idea translated into 3 more clients, 3 more houses sold, and then a paycheck solely for yourself. Yeah. That's like the biggest pro is just seeing an idea born in your head and being rewarded for it so fast. Mm-hmm. Whereas at another job, you might beg your boss like for 2 years to put in something you want to implement marketing wise. Like if you wanted to change marketing apps because this one's a little more advanced, you might beg your boss for 2 years. And then when he finally does it and it's successful, it doesn't matter to you because you get no raise, no credit, anything. Yeah. I think that's the biggest pro. One of them is waking up, just having ideas born in your head and being able to convert on them like super quick and for yourself. And other than that, it's just like, I really enjoy content creating, obviously, which is like my business is built like a little bit different than I guess your typical realtor. Now I know like a lot of young people now do the same thing I'm doing. But my business is really online based, which you probably saw. I do like Instagram stories, Facebook. I'm pretty much vlogging every single day.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things, is just being able to like wake up and create content. It's like never, oh, I have to go show this house at 4 o'clock. It's like, all right, well, if I don't sell it, I'm going to get some good content out there. So that's also fun. I never actually feel like I'm going to work either.
Right.
Those are probably the 2 biggest pros. And then number 3, which is obvious, and even though like a lot of people aren't going to believe me, less important to me, is you really get to control your own income. So if I said I have this goal to buy a brand new car by the end of this year, I could work my butt off for 65 hours a week and accomplish that, whereas other jobs you can't. Like, I want to buy this new 2020 car, but my job only affords me right now to buy a 2016. You could work triple the time if you have a salary job. You're still only going to, like, they're not going to raise your pay for that. So
Absolutely.
I really like dictating your own income. I guess those would be 3 of the biggest pros, along with working with my mom, is honestly like probably the most. Yeah, she's
That's
super
so cool. Yeah.
That's probably honestly the most fun thing about all of it, is like our relationship, we always had a good relationship, but it became like such a cooler relationship for a mother and son to have when we like did the same business. We opposite. We're not with each other 24/7, but we live basically the same exact life. Yeah. So it's just a really cool common ground to have with your parent, and it's like an experience. One day she's not going to want to do this anymore, but it's an experience I don't think I'll ever be able to replace when she finally wants to retire and we have to find somebody else, like somebody to go under us. I don't think I'd ever be able to replace that bond with anybody. Right. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do when she retires.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll figure it out, obviously. I mean, time, everything evolves and everything. Specifically in real estate, one of the things that I noticed while in that industry was the fact that it was very tough to have a quality, like, real estate team in a sense. And I think the reason that happened was most of the time it's like husband and wife and stuff like that. Maybe you bicker and stuff like that, but that's not really the point. The point was that you had a husband and wife, let's say, and maybe they were in their 50s or whatever, because I feel like a lot of agents are kind of, they've been in the game for a long time. With you and your mom and your team, I think that you guys have a very incredible advantage because your mom has the experience and the knowledge from like in the industry, and then you come in with like a lot of ambition, a lot of drive and everything, and like the tech tools way better. So you're able to be the face of your team and like, Tammy and Carlo Sorco real estate team, right? And do all of that from the like the public view, and then you can both kind of like you can learn the more of the industry knowledge every single day from her, and I think that really probably establishes that bond even more.
It makes it, first of all, because like you just said, that's basically how we operate it. Not only are we bringing in 2 totally different spheres, because like you said, she's gonna have like the 50 plus sphere, the business she's built her whole life, and at this point her business is amazing. It's mostly referrals. She could not make a phone call and still be successful in a year. I kind of brought the younger generation, the millennials, buying their first houses, listing their first houses now. That's been awesome, because a lot of the times husband and wife are going to have the same exact sphere of people. Me and my mom are like a 40 year difference in age. We have totally different people we bring, and it helps so much too. Like you said, her experience. There's so much more to it than when you see like semi-popular realtors on Instagram, and it's like, oh, I'm out here showing this house. Just sold that house. 20 days later, I'm at the closing. Just got this huge paycheck. I'm at the mall. Like it's
I'm at the mall.
So much between all that. Like there's like 30 days of just straight grind, paperwork, negotiating, and that's where like you said she helps immensely because she has 20 years of experience. So like I always say, like, she is hands down, I don't think I'll ever be as good of a realtor as she is, because she is just so freaking smart with all that stuff. And she's a whiz. And I think where I fit in, and like you said, I really like brought in the modern dimension of our business, because she's a referral business, so she's always going to have an income. Like if I quit the team, she'd still do pretty well. Where I brought in was upped it, because we're now on the internet. So like you said, we're getting like 3-4 leads a week off of Instagram or Facebook, whereas that's just on top of her business, and I kind of get to be the face to it, which is fun for me. And then, like you said, she makes sure those deals close, those houses sell, the deals stay together. Not that I can't do that, but she is 20 years of experience, so I'd be stupid not to go, okay, well, this person's under contract. What are we doing, Tam? Let's take point here, you know?
What are we doing, Tam?
Yeah, so that's basically how our conversations go. And then after, like, and she'll bring the clients in, too. It's not like I'm always the one bringing the clients in. She brings a ton of business in. But after I'll bring a client in, it's usually like that. It's like, here's the deal. I sold this house. I brought this person in. This, and this may be semi-hard to overcome. What are we doing? And that's literally our conversation all the time. So it really is a healthy mix. Whereas if I was alone, I probably would have lost a lot more deals starting out than I was able to convert.
It sounds like you guys have a really good system going there. I mean, that's and you mentioned there, like, obviously you're building off of her experience, kind of bringing your own flavor and your own skills, obviously, to the mix. Do you, like, looking forward a little bit, obviously, like you alluded to, one day, you know, it's probably going to be just you, right? Like your mom's going to retire and something like that. I'm sure she'll always be in the mix, you know, to some degree, right? You know, you are her son, obviously. But like doing all of this, kind of honestly a personal question, because it's stuff that I'm trying to do too. Are you trying to establish your own like personal brand in like the real? Obviously, you do it, kind of by osmosis. But like, are there any specific steps? Are there anything that you're doing to kind of plan for that? I know it might be a long way off, but like if you ever have to do something, do you see it as your plan moving forward to continue to be a real estate agent even after that? And like, are you taking any specific steps to try to be establish your own thing?
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's actually like a huge thing to me. Now, like, I don't know how many people know. I'm sure you did because we saw each other in offices before, but
right.
I started out at Remax, and then like probably 5-6 months into my career, we switched to Howard Hanna, and it was like a brand change. When I switched to Howard Hanna, on my individual side of things, I was just getting my business picked up, and then it slowed down again because I had a company change. So I basically told myself from here on out, all my marketing, everything, I know I legally have to put Howard Hanna next to everything I do. But I'm like, all my marketing, everything, I need to subliminally push Sorco Real Estate. So like, although Howard Hanna's bigger on the paper, I want Sorco Real Estate and mine and my mom's space to be what's remembered about us. Not, oh, those agents are really good with Howard Hanna. I think that's important, like you said. That way, and it'll work for you too, as sponsors or whatever. No matter who sponsors you, no matter what company you're with, the thing that's never going to die is Sorco Real Estate. That's my brand. And the way I push that, and that's also the only thing tangible. Like if you leave a company as a real estate agent, your only leverage is your brand.
Right.
So if a company looks at you and goes, okay, that kid sold $9 million last year, but it was probably like half company leads and it was only because of the big Hanna name, you're going to have less leverage to negotiate splits, etc., with another company.
Right. If
the company knows you more by Sorco Real Estate than being a really good agent for Howard Hanna, that's great with leverage. And the way I do that is just kind of, I hate to say subliminally because it seems like I'm sneaking past something, which I'm not. But we have a logo. I try to incorporate Sorco Real Estate on every ad I do. I hashtag it all the time. I make sure I put my face on my Instagram story. Every single house I show, I get there 10 minutes early. Make sure I put my face on there.
Right.
Make sure that's part of the brand. Hashtag Sorco Real Estate. Make sure probably like every 3 marketing flyers we do, you have mine and my mom's picture under us and a little name writer sign. So I guess long story short is I absolutely do try to push my brand all the time. I love my company, but they would say the same thing. Individual brands more important.
100%.
I want to be known as Sorco Real Estate or Carlo Sorco Realtor, no matter if I'm at Remax, Berkshire Hathaway, Howard Hanna.
Yeah.
That's huge to me. And the way I do that is just by consistently keeping my logo, consistently keeping my face with every house I'm selling, every marketing flyer I'm putting out, making sure I don't miss an opportunity to have my branding on anything, I think has been the biggest thing for me. I don't know how much sense that makes, but I guess that's the best way I could put how I brand in the words.
Yeah. No, I think it makes perfect sense. And I actually think, so I'm gonna take a step back to like, the context that you provided. So you were in computer science and you're in this, that, and the other thing. And then, now you've gotten this and you only have, 2 years experience. I mean, relatively, it's a good amount of experience in any field, but it's you're still fresh, right?
New compared to some, like a lot of the agents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing that I pick up on when I have these types of conversations, specifically about branding, because I try to do a lot of it myself with everything that I do, is I didn't go to school for marketing or anything like that. You didn't go to school for marketing or anything like that. But then you have people that do go for those types of things, and I feel like they don't understand the concept. It's not like a dig on them. It's actually more of a dig on like university and stuff like that if we want to do that. But we don't need to go that route. What I'm kind of saying is it's amazing what you can do. It's a testament to you and many other people that you can figure out just by, oh, what is this person doing that's working? What is this person doing that's working? And just trying to recreate things and do it for yourself. So how did you, if you could put into words, how did you figure out how to do that stuff?
So I'm not going to name drop them because now they're my competition. But there was quite a few realtors that like when I first started, obviously it's been like kind of a wave in PA. Like for some reason, like there's probably like 10 of us around Western PA. You probably know like 6 of them. Mm-hmm. Like young realtors under like probably like 28 years old. There's like 10 of us who are pretty decent. And when I came in, there was like 7 of them that everybody knew. Yeah. I literally went on to Instagram, followed all 7 of them, and watched their stories like I was sitting in a lecture hall. Yeah. Like they probably hate that I did this, but I mean, I take the same risk now.
That's what you do.
So I watched them like gospel. I tried to mimic what they did. It didn't work super well at first because it was inauthentic. Then I figured out a way, okay, this guy structures his Instagram posts like this. This is how he does flyers. This is how long he's making his marketing videos. This is how he's managing blogging. I would take stuff from like probably those 7 to 8 people, and then I would just put my own personality into it. Like I have a dry sense of humor. So I'd set my videos up, talk about the house, walk through it. Instead of recap about the price or something, I'll add my dry sense of humor into the end. So like you said, it's a copycat industry. Basically took the 7 people I probably thought really got what I was trying to do, got myself to where my stuff was doing as well as them. And then from there, that's where I probably had more genuineness about what I do. Right. So from there, once I kind of caught up to speed with what they were doing as far as production, then that's when you get to the drawing board and you're like, okay, now I have to be creative and figure out something that's my own, or I'm never going to pass this person up. But really, learning how to brand and everything, a lot of copycatness. Didn't hate to admit it, but I mean, that's how it works.
Dude, I'm so glad that you explained it just like that. And that was the thing, because I feel the exact same way. And I don't think there's any shame in that. I think that you articulated it beautifully. You copy them to a certain extent, and you're not like copying them obviously verbatim. You're seeing what they do. Mm-hmm. You're seeing that somebody else has success in your industry or whatever the case may be, and then you implement that, and you put your own over time. You put your own personal flavor and spin on it, and then it becomes yours. And then somebody else might copy you and do the same thing. But that's how it works. Like you always have to be evolving. You always have to be adapting, because if they stay the exact same, then you're going to run right past them. And then same thing. If you stay the same, then they're going to run right past you.
Exactly. And I think that's so, and even with what you do too, I'm sure it applies there.
Oh, yeah.
If like the big guys, like Joe Rogan always has his logo right here on videos. And now everybody sees JRE or whatever experience on the left side of the screen. Well, people started hashtagging that because they see it so often. Right. So obviously you're going to say left side of the screen's good placement for that logo. Yeah. I'm going to put it there. So I start getting hashtags. Yeah. It would be dumb not to follow trends that work. I feel, my old broker, I actually really liked him. He's a cool dude. What he told me when I first started was, you could spend like all day trying to reinvent the wheel. So it could basically take you 10 years to figure out how to do this and be successful. Or you could copy someone like me, which was him at the time, or this, and this person, get successful really quickly, and then put your own spin on things. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. Don't always just try to reinvent the wheel. Yeah. Take what the next person made mistakes to figure out what works. Take that and then make it better. But don't make the same mistakes you watch someone else make, because you can just avoid them by copying what they did to avoid them the next time.
I love people say, learn from your mistakes so you don't make them. Even better, learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to make them in the first place.
So nice, and obviously not always a reality, but when possible. And you can learn from a lot of mine. I'm sure there's videos or stuff I put out there where I probably said something I shouldn't have said. Well, learn from it and don't do the same thing. And that's what I did with people. Yeah. But that was probably biggest driving to getting my brand out there, was basically kind of going on with what other people did. Now, a lot of my videos are, I wouldn't say cutting edge, because every young agent markets using the internet, but a lot of how I target market and structure my videos, and even like my little vlogs I do on my Instagram story and stuff, a lot of that now isn't copycat, because I've just seen from experience and like insight reports and all that, how length, what structure of videos actually works. So now I go more based off of actual numbers and a proven track record.
Right.
But when you don't have 2 years of numbers to go off of, copy people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Best thing to do.
So you said, just to clarify too, so what are your big platforms? Like Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram, kind of very similar in a lot of ways, a lot of overlap there. Do you do anything on other platforms like LinkedIn or anything?
So I'll kind of go through them. So Instagram's got to be my biggest driver of business.
Yeah.
Like, not like the last week, but there are points where I'm literally getting like 3 buyer, sometimes even seller leads off of Instagram, which is nice. So that's probably my biggest platform. And not just like my followers, okay, they're probably not crazy, but not just my followers, target marketing on Instagram is insane because I can put an ad out in 24 hours, reach 14,000 people in the Kraft and Ingram area.
Yeah.
That's been insane from generating leads. Facebook's okay for me.
Yeah.
I found that I'm not nearly as good at converting off Facebook as Instagram. Now, I run a team Facebook, and it's Tammy and Carlo Sorco Realtor.
Right.
I think that one's up to almost 2,000 likes or something. Now, that one does pretty good, but a lot of the leads I get from there are more leads that I feel like my mom's brand attracted more than me, if that makes sense, because there'll be people like 45 plus or people on their third home, and they message saying, hey, Tammy and Carlos, saw your ad about this, this, and this, but a lot of those people are more useful for my mother.
Right.
So Facebook works. It gets us a lot of leads, especially ones that she can convert. Instagram's probably my best platform. I do also a few different CRMs. Now I'm solely using one. I think it's called like Lion's Desk or something.
Desk, yeah.
Which is absolutely awesome. So basically, if I'll do an open house, like if I was talking to you at the bar, and like you're 3 beers in telling me that you and your girlfriend are looking to buy a house, like I'm gonna find a way to get your email, and you're gonna be in my CRM. And basically, that's a huge thing for me because at this point I just have auto texts, auto emails set up with stuff I've constructed, but like so you can keep getting market reports every 2 months. Obviously, if someone doesn't like it and says they don't want it, I will end it. But once you get a couple hundred people in a CRM like that, you're basically always getting leads off that too. So the CRM, Lion's Desk, and one I have through my work that I use, which I don't want to give everybody the name of it. Yeah. But those 2 things are probably tied with Instagram on how I get leads, because I swear, like, just through the auto stuff that those do, I'll probably at least get 2 new clients a week, like messaging me. Okay, it's all maybe not new clients, but it's always good for 2 to 3 different buyers going to see houses a week, or those platforms just getting people enticed to see houses. So Instagram's huge. My 2 CRM systems are huge for me. I really do a lot with realtor.com. Me and my mom both. We get a lot of stuff from there. And then Facebook does generate us leads. It's probably like 4th or 5th on the totem pole. And then probably both of our biggest thing, and this isn't even internet based, is just we're both talkers, me and my mom. So we'll literally go to Giant Eagle and we'll talk to 18 people and we'll end up having 2 new clients. So that's probably always going to be the biggest base of our business is the personal level, face to face. But as far as internet goes, those are probably our bread and butter on how to get things out there on the internet. But I think our personalities and just our want to talk to every single person we see is always going to be the biggest driver of our business.
I gotcha. No, I mean, I think that's you get the 1-2 punch there, I think, because when I see a lot of real estate agents, again, going back to the experience part, trying to compare what you guys are doing to a lot of people that I saw, it was kind of like half-assed in a way. It's like you can't just like, so you're using the CRM, and if I understand that correctly, does it push out like content for you a little bit, like more of like almost generic-ish stuff? Does it do that or no?
It does, but I'm like a control freak, so you'll have templates with like 40 emails or maybe 20 emails to go out through an air a year. I usually make my own custom email setup, but it does have that.
Exactly. Well, the thing that I'm talking about is the real estate industry is flooded, like so saturated with all those types of tools, right? Like, I mean, as a realtor, I'm sure you get it in your inbox every single day, just a bunch of BS. Like, and when I say BS, they're tools that work. There's nothing wrong with the tools. There's a lot of copycat tools out of there. Maybe like one little thing here and there that's like a different value proposition in the actual piece. But like, as you've probably known from going through different CRMs, most of them are kind of the same, but they're not going to give you the results that you want unless you're doing the stuff that you're doing. These agents out here, they want to go and they want to say, oh, I just want to like do something that like set it and forget it and just like goes out and like gives me constant leads. I don't really think it's that simple. You have to put your own stuff in it because, like you said, at the end of the day, if you can go down to Giant Eagle and talk to people, people give more of a shit about that than like templated emails that,
All the time.
Occasionally will work because they are informative and they're good content, but they're not you. You're trying to sell you. You're not trying to sell some, random stuff that's generic as hell.
I actually think you're right there.
Yeah.
So I guess probably the reason it only works for us is because, number one, like I said, I'm a control freak, so I really use that to like, I'll make my custom email spread. They'll get like cool little, where you can find on my Instagram, like videos with some funny stuff in them about our listings. Like, you'll get content that you might actually care about seeing pushed there. But number two, I personally, like, yes, you have to put everybody in there and you can set the auto, but pay attention to your insights if you're doing something like that. If I see like Mark Szymanski, for some reason, wasn't opening up emails for 3 weeks, but last week he opened up in one email 3 different times for me, I'm going to be like, that guy probably wants to buy a house, but you're never going to tell me that. So I look at the numbers and then I'm going to give you a call.
Right.
You might tell me you hate me, like never call you again, but you also might say, you know what, me and my girlfriend are looking for a house. Right. So like you said, you have to have the base there.
Yeah.
You have to have stuff like a CRM, just because it makes you reach so much further than you could ever do on your own.
Right.
But you also have to have the initiative and the work ethic to look every couple days and go, okay, these are my insights. I need to call this, and this today off my CRM, because they're at that point. If you don't have the work aspect and you don't make the calls when you get things to the point where they're ready to convert, then you're just going to lose it to some other agent that they called off Zillow. So you're right. All those can be a failure or they can be successful. But like with anything else in business, it's a lot of operator and very little about which company provided it to you.
Right. Exactly. No, I think that, to double down on it, like I said, I just think that you guys are doing it the right way, right? Like, you're using the tools, but you're actually using them. You're not like letting the tools like just completely work for you in a sense, which I think a lot of agents fall into that trap, because they get these sales pitches from these people and they're like, oh yeah, just, like just dump your contact list in here and never look at it. That's not at all what you do. And on top of that, on top of using the tool, you're establishing the personal brand on the front end. So, if people do come across you, they get an email from you. Maybe they've seen you before. Maybe they see, because you're all over Craft and all over Ingram, all over Instagram in that area. Like, oh wow, I'm getting an email from this person. Like I met him the other day or whatever. I just think that I really like the structure. I like what you're doing. I think if you continue to do it, obviously you guys have had a lot of success so far. I think you're just going to continue to trend upward.
Well, I appreciate it. It's definitely the goal is definitely to trend as high upward as we can be. Kind of see where that takes us. Maybe one day kind of expand the team a little bit, but right now I'm pretty happy just being us two people. Like I said, I'm only 2 years in, so not like, well, I feel like I have it figured out.
Yeah.
I don't know how ready I am to have like 3 agents on our team that I also have to have it figured out for. So we're really happy with 2 people right now. But like you said, we're doing all these things to set ourselves up for. We always want to. I think last year we did together, I think it was like 8 million production. So this year our goal is over 10. So we always want to, our kind of general rule of thumb is, I think the year before that it was like 6 million. Our rule of thumb is always try to up it 2 to 3 million every year by doing what we just explained and talked about. And I think what you just said, like what we've been doing is what's going to get us there.
Yeah.
Any job your manager is going to ask, what are you going to do to hit your goals? And those are the things we do.
Absolutely.
It's hard to explain it though, because a lot of like what I do is I just kind of just wake up and go get it, you know? So it's hard to put into words. So I hope I'm doing okay at some of this.
I mean, I understand it. Hopefully our viewers do. But I think that like I said, I think you're articulating it very well, and I think it's so interesting to have these types of talks, because I think there's a lot of people that overthink that. If it's in the real estate industry specifically, but a lot of what we talked about is honestly not just akin to real estate. But I think people overthink it. It's a lot about work. Like you got to be smart. You got to have some tools and stuff like that. But really, like you said, you just got to go after it.
Oh, you do. There's so many. And not to like poo on it, because it's hard to get that. Like I was lucky, and I'll never forget it, that I had, not just because it's real estate, but I had my mom to segue me into how to run a business.
Yeah.
Because she already had figured it out. So I had her to train me, like do this, and this. But for a lot of new agents, I'll see get in the business and like 4 or 5 months later, they're just gone.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of what you said. Like a lot of people, and not just agents, I guess in any business, spend more time trying to figure out, how am I going to sell this house? Or how am I going to sell cars? Or how am I going to get 100,000 views on my podcast? some people spend so much time figuring that out and researching it that they forget to actually do what they're trying to accomplish. Like sometimes you're better off just getting in the garage and making content, even though you don't have it figured out how to get 100,000 views on every video yet.
Yeah.
You're taking more steps doing this than researching how to do it. And then eventually I think the rest will come. But I think number one priority is like, if you throw enough crap at the wall, something's going to stick, you know?
Absolutely. Just consistency, man. Above all, consistency and hard work, I would say, two biggest things. I want to slide over towards, we didn't talk about the cons yet of like, which I'm sure, like you said, there's definitely are. I want to transition to that though, because I have a couple questions that I think might be leading into that. The first one is actually specifically back to what you said about you think you might want to add some agents at some point, expand the team. Maybe not right away, but at some point, right? As you continue to get, obviously your production goes up. I know this for a fact, like, producing these podcasts and stuff like that just takes a lot of time, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you need more bodies sometimes to help with that. Are you guys doing anything to prepare for that in a sense of you do stuff every day, right? And let's say I'm going through the same thing. I think a lot of people out there as well. You do a lot of things every day that are just kind of probably right here. You just know how to make Instagram stories. You know how to do this, that, and the other thing. Do you guys have are you building any processes? Like, are you doing anything where it's like, if I think of it like this, if you hired somebody off the street right now, can you tell them exactly what you do, like in a little booklet format or something like that, and just like, boom, just do this? Or is it on your radar at all? Is that something that that sounds a little...
No, I totally get what you're saying. So it is, the first part of it is we are taking strides to make it more, like you said, our goal is eventually to have a team under us, no matter where our career goes. But so we're taking steps now to kind of make that blueprint. If you were to be an agent tomorrow, I don't know that I could explain to you exactly how I got to this point or exactly what I do every day. But what's really helped is, and luckily me and my mom are both the same person. Like we like to go, we like to do exactly what's on our mind. We like to like grind it out, sell the houses, and not necessarily think about how we did it, which has always been our problem. So we just brought on an admin, a transaction coordinator, however the heck you label these things. And she's gonna be kind of taking more charge of that stuff, like putting together better systems.
Yeah.
My mom and I, again, like we don't need a system to succeed because we know what we're doing.
Right.
But she's setting that up, and one of the reasons she is helping us set all that up is so we have something that's transferable to new agents.
For sure.
So that's one thing it'll help with. And I think number two, now that we have her, I'm going to have more time to do things like, okay, kind of get my business plan on paper. So if we do try to expand like we think we're heading in the next couple years,
right,
I do want to get into that. I think now I'll have more time because like I said, like probably 80% of my work week is filled up with like paperwork or like odds and ends or answering emails.
Yeah.
Maybe like 70%, 20%, 20 to 30% showing houses, going on listing appointments. And then I have like 3% of time to do like productive things like to advance me, like how to build a model that'll transfer to new agents or how to market a little better. So I think hiring her is going to help us to answer your question in a long way. Hiring her to kind of take care of that paperwork, to take care of a lot of that emails, to take care of making sure signatures happen. I think that's going to open up way more hours for me to do something like that. So absolutely. I couldn't tell you right now exactly how I did it. If I had someone start day one right now, I'd probably just watch them for like a couple weeks and then be like, okay, this is what you're good at, and come up with a business plan. But really just my biggest advice if I was to hire an agent right now, which is why I haven't, because it's not very like, not a very marketable thing to want like someone to want to come on, would just basically be like, wake up every day and do something, make videos, make phone calls, make sure you're doing something that has a reach to other people every single day, and you inevitably end up doing business. To put it in the most layman terms possible, whatever business you're in. If you do something every day to reach as many people as you can, even if you're a real estate agent and your video is how you washed your car and accidentally put a scratch on it, like something stupid, but as long as your branding's in there somewhere, just try to have a reach every day, and that's the most transferable thing in business. Other than that, no, we kind of suck at the other, like getting things, explaining structure and all.
No, Well, I mean,
We're getting better.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all a progression game. I mean, so there's no harm in that. The thing that and the reason that I bring that up is because, again, calling on the past experience that I have, I think that those two things being the usage of the tools and hard work and marketing, like understanding really what you're doing. You're running your own business, like we've said multiple times, right? Like you're under the umbrella of a brokerage, but you're running your own business.
Definitely.
With that comes a ton of marketing work, a ton of like hard work, hustle, right? And the other part of it is you have options. Like, so depending on your goals, your next step, right? And again, it's down the road, so I'm not you don't have to have this thought out right now. But if you look at it, your next steps are going to be, well, do I want to continue to do this just by myself, like you two, like your mom, and then like maybe one other person or whatever? Or do you want to really expand a team? Maybe one day you want to start your own brokerage, right? Your own independent or something like that, right? And if you get to that point, like now you're going to have like actual employees almost, right? So it's like, well, you gotta tell them how to do things. And I think that's like the next thing. And like I said, a lot of the stuff that I'm dealing with is it's scaling your business up and trying to be like, okay, it's basically like you're copying yourself almost, and the things that and putting them on paper and everything like that. So definitely not an easy task. There's a ton of work that goes in. People underestimate the amount of time and the amount of energy and effort it takes to copy something that you just know. Like you can do it like this.
Oh my God.
But
yeah,
you have
dude.
to, I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, that's so time.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate, and you learn this yourself, like how time consuming like things that aren't improving your business are, and how easy it is to like not get caught in the inefficiency, because like I see you as well, like you're always working, but how easy it is, and I've had this problem before too, to get caught up in like trying to answer all your emails in like one sitting, and trying to get all this logistical paperwork done in one sitting, where like I've kind of found sometimes it's more useful to say, okay, my showings end at 4 today. I'm going to spend 2 hours doing paperwork and email. And at that point, I'm going to spend 6 to 8 p.m. solely working on marketing and myself.
Right.
So as far as like, I guess I haven't gotten real good at like the system part as to where to be more efficient time wise, but I have gotten good at saying I'm only going to spend this much time on this today, because I'm placing an importance on marketing and stuff like that. To whereas when you're a newer business,
right,
you're so concerned about, okay, I got a client, I got this client, I'm going to spend my whole day making sure this works out. And you kind of lose the other touches, like, okay, I need to get future business. And I think I'm getting better at spacing time for that. Although I'm definitely still guilty, is like I am like have a tough time letting any deal ever fall apart. It doesn't really happen to me. So if I do have something I need to take care of, I've had days where I've had to spend like 10 hours on one thing. But I'm probably learning from you in that capacity, because that's the one thing I've had such trouble with, is structuring, I guess, what I do to be more efficient on a day to day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm by no means a poster child for that, but like, I think that, it's always a process. That is probably, if you see any like the daily recaps and shit like that, I'm always talking about this, because I get in the zone. I'm sure you're the same way. You wake up every day and you go hard for, however many hours, right? Like 16 hours, whatever.
Until we're tired.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? And it's because you love it and you want to do it and you want to constantly get better. And the thing that I have every day when I reflect on that at the end of the day, you're going through your checklist of everything that you did and everything, it's like, well, I could have done this better. I could have done this better. I could be better here. I could be better there. And it's tough, because you feel like, at least me sometimes, that I want to be so much further ahead, but I can only work so hard, and that is when my mind goes to the whole scaling thing and all that. Because if I had more time, if I had more people that could do the things that I need to do every day right now, like edit videos and all this other stuff, then, maybe I would have more time to expand and to have more thoughts and different ideas. So I think it's all a process. You just continue to work through it. But I mean, I think you're on the right track. I would never sweat it that hard that, both of us and stuff like that. Just it's a process. You consistently get better. You consistently structure better. You consistently. And
I think if we didn't have the personalities to be able to look at ourselves and go, okay, I'm not so good at this. I need to get better.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be the type of people that could run our own business anyway. So I think in a way that trait's good.
Yeah. It's hugely important.
You don't want to be down on yourself, but you do. I think it is important to realize like I suck at this. I need to hire an admin.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Right.
I think that's an important
That's just
thing.
self-awareness. You
Yep.
know, I mean, that's it. So I think it's all a part of it, and it's very important. So the question becomes then, kind of like with that, I would say that's maybe not a con, but it's definitely a real thing that you have to work on. Because if you're an employee, you really don't need. Maybe you can get better and get a raise and stuff, but like it's not nearly as important as being self-aware, trying to understand where you want to go, you're responsible for
'Cause
making
you're
your
your boss.
you're
You
responsible
know?
for making that better. So what other things would you say? Maybe cons, I think, is a little strong, but there's definitely probably, I'm sure, some cons to like running your business. I know it's stressful. Like that's a huge one
That's
for
a
me.
given.
But like, what are some other things that maybe you thought it was going to be a little easier, or maybe you thought like this, that, and the other thing? What are the things that are tough for you?
So there's definitely some of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do one is a big one, and it's probably just something to be knowledgeable about if you're gonna be self-employed. Like, you know, it's absolutely the best life ever. Like, you get to wake up, you control your life. The downside of it is if you're self-employed, you don't realize like how much cash and capital you actually need to save to be able to get the things you want. Whereas if I was a W-2 employee for a year, making the same amount of salary, you basically be able to finance whatever you want.
Right.
As someone that's self-employed, like cash is truly king because it's really hard to get a loan self-employed unless you're like a real vet in this.
Right.
So that's one of the big cons is like I was able to get my car and I was able to get like this and that, but it was really hard to get there. Like you basically have to work triple as hard as a W-2 worker to ever get financing. So that's a big con if you're nervous about like, you know, I want to be able to finance a house in a couple years, or I want to be able to finance this brand new car. That's one con about self-employment, because where it's possible, it's harder to do.
Right.
Because you need to get a bank or a lender to, now they are not just trusting like the Remax pays you every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You need to get them to trust like Mark Szymanski or Carlo Sorco's ability to generate this much income every month for themselves.
Yeah.
That's hard. The other con is, I really do love what I do. I guess the other con would be just sometimes it gets real stressful. Which is kind of with everything. Showings, I guess I thought you'd probably do a little bit less of them when I first started. I thought it would be like, you know, Joe Smith called me yesterday.
Yeah.
He wants to look at houses. I thought it would be like, okay, Tuesday I'll show him 5 houses and then he'll pick one and then we'll write a contract and then I'll get paid, like basically on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I learned like, okay, Joe called me yesterday. He wants to start looking at houses next month. We're going to have to spend the next 2 weeks making sure his pre-approval and stuff's in line. If he has a house, we have to sell it first to remove that contingency. Then we have to work for 3 months to find his ideal house. Then a month after that, I'll get paid.
Jeez.
Which is like the con. It's like if I get Mark Szymanski as a client, it'll probably be like 3-4 months, probably until I'm actually going to make money off Mark Szymanski as my client.
Right.
So not as much of a con, just something I wasn't necessarily as aware of is like, getting the business to actually getting paid is a stretch. So when you're first getting into this, part-time jobs are key.
Yeah.
Even though people don't love that. I haven't had one for about 1.5 years, but I did for my first 6 months. I think that's the biggest con though. Like anything self-employed, don't get into it thinking I'm going to kill it. I'm going to set the world on fire, which you should.
Right.
I'm going to get all these clients and be rich by 3 months from now.
Yeah.
It's a long-term grind. Like it really is. And especially real estate, it takes really like at least a good 1.5 years if you're doing a lot of business to be comfortable, because you have to have so much in the pipeline at all times. Like, okay, I met these people, they'll close 3 months from now. These people are going to be my pay like 2 months from now.
Yeah.
That's a con, is because some things are quick to be fruitful as far as selling a house when you have a listing.
Yeah.
There's some situations where it takes a while to get your paycheck and a lot of hard work.
Right.
I guess that would be a con in a way. At the same token, I still don't even mind that part.
Right. Gotcha. No, I mean, the stress level definitely resonates with me. I don't want to say I didn't think, but it's easy to underestimate the amount of stress, because like when you're sitting in a job, it's a different kind of stress. Like when you're sitting in a job that you don't enjoy, it's not like super fulfilling. You feel like your soul is dying,
Way worse, dude.
and that's awful. Yeah. And it's definitely way worse than this, but it's not like you become self-employed, you start your own thing doing whatever you love, and it's like, oh, this is fantastic every single day. There's definitely a lot of stress and a lot of exhaustion that goes into it. But
doubt at first too.
Oh yeah, 100%. But the thing you have to take like solace in is the fact that you're doing it because it's making you happy, making you fulfilled, and you actually want to do it every day. So yeah, that's definitely feel that. Do you, like, with real estate and everything now, like, do you, as you're gaining some more skills and stuff, random question for you, as far as like from a business perspective and like cash flow and things like that, do you see yourself ever having other means of like streams of income? Meaning like, so like right now you're obviously selling homes and getting paid on commission and everything like that. Do you have any, or maybe have you already started like real estate investing? Are you interested in that? Are you interested in teaching at all? That's another one, like someday, because I think that is a certain thing that takes a specific type of personality, and I don't think that there's enough good real estate and like entrepreneurship teachers like out there. What about either of those two things?
So I guess I'll address like the teaching thing first. That actually is something. Obviously, we talked about my background. I was going to be a teacher for the longest time. That is something I'd be interested in. I've actually done a couple things for like my office at Hannah and stuff, where I've taught like, basically essentially online marketing and lead generation. Not for any money, just out of the kindness of my heart, I guess. But I really do enjoy doing that. So down the line, I would be open. I guess it would be Howard Hanna's decision. I plan on being there for a little while. Yeah. I would be open to teaching stuff and kind of like, I'm very interested in, and I watch them now and kind of wish I had more say in it. I'm very interested in like younger agents, and the reason is younger agents that already like come into the business with some following on social medias. I would love to be in a place where for my company one day, maybe I'm taking those people in a class and teaching them how to take the knowledge they grew up with of the internet and actually make a killing off it. I'd be very interested in doing that. Yeah. I wouldn't be as interested in like when I took my real estate classes being the guy that teaches like the law and everything of it. Like, this is eminent domain. This is like, I don't want to be like a terms teacher, but I would be interested in teaching how to actually make your business better. Because that way you can look at someone and see how you've made an impact on them and not just taught them terms. Not that I'm knocking that. Yeah, I feel you. As far as like other streams of revenue, so I don't do too much right now, but I have like the goal. Like, I've been putting money into this in this account. A couple things I want to do, which I'm kind of starting to look now. I want to start getting multi-units. So I want that to be part of my income, just for the residual. Kind of keep them in the area, cheaper ones. Put a little work into them, but I'm hoping by the time I'm 24 right now, by the time I'm like 34, so 10 years from now, I would like to have like 4 or 5 nice multi-units. Not anything crazy, but a couple units each. That way I won't have to stress as hard about, like, grind as hard, I guess, about my next check in real estate. I'll have that residual. Other things I've thought about, which I've thought about a whole bunch of things, but basically, like, a lot of stuff in the labor industry, since I spent years, I used to, growing up, own my own, like, landscaping business and everything. Nice. I wouldn't mind putting, like, I'm not, like, I'm the risk of sounding ridiculous. I don't necessarily want to, like, be out cutting grass every day in the summer anymore. But it's something I've explored, is how much it would cost to, like, run my own landscaping company. Yeah. So I'd like to put that on my revenue. Landscaping, investment houses, maybe one day get into flips. And honestly, like, I'm pretty open to any business opportunity that presents itself. Like, I'm not open into running any business, but anything that I would ever be able to find where it's like someone that seems to have a good idea, I'd be willing to put money in. So to answer your question, yes, I want to put my money into other places long term. No, I haven't done much of it yet. Part of being indecisive, part of being, I just like to enjoy life as well as save money. Part of it being kind of just like have a reserve safe for when I do meet someone, but I guess nothing's really turned me on enough yet to just put money in it and blindly like let someone else lead the charge. But all that I would be open to. I think it's smart, especially with what I do. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that I'm interested in real estate investing as well, and I think that being in the real estate industry gives you almost like a tactical advantage, because like I want to scoop that for myself type of thing. You know, you're always in it. You know a lot about it. You know, you just have that inside edge. I mean, and then if you can
like you said, residual passive income is like the mother of all things. If you can just, buy something, invest in that, and then get that tenant income and everything. And obviously there's expenses to everything, but I think that is a real awesome way, as well as like other things. I don't know if you do any investing in like stock market, mutual funds, retirement investing, stuff like that.
Stocks. That's about all.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's just, I dabble in it all, and I love the idea of, simply put, like almost like a retirement, just like as a retirement account, for instance, like a Roth IRA, just putting money away and just knowing that it's just going to continue to, trend upward, barring some sort of absolute catastrophe.
I hope the Lord that doesn't happen. You're a better man than me there, though, because I love the idea of that.
Yeah.
To get myself to make a substantial investment to anything I can't access for a while, it's just,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better at it, just so far from my real personality.
I feel you. No, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, like you said. I mean, if you can't, and especially, well, I think the thing too with the way that you're living, at least now, obviously, as like, just a dude, no family and stuff like that, you have a lot of time. The thing is, you want to be dynamic. You want to have that opportunity to, if you want to go out and buy a multi-unit, like, okay, so simply put, like a Roth IRA doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be like a millionaire or anything like that. You got to consistently put in. But if you're investing that other places, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like, all the stuff about like taxes and everything that kind of like screws you sometimes with every, different thing. But as long as you're, I always go back to, as long as you're moving in the right direction, as long as you're like, being happy with what you're doing, that's the whole reason that I've chased the things that I'm doing, the stuff that you're doing. So,
and I always watch your little videos when you start talking about basically money management, because like I said, like that's one of the things, like I was talking about earlier, like I do know it's not that I can't save money, but I suck at being diligent with where to put it, because I mostly just leave it in a savings account.
Yeah.
So I do actually watch your stuff when you talk about how to use your money and whatnot. Eventually I would like to get into the Roth IRA and all that route, but I think honestly right now part of it too is I'm just trying to save up enough cash so I can make the attack at multi-units would be my primary goal.
Right.
Then once cash starts generating every month from that, I think about what I'm doing with it.
I feel you. Yeah.
But I guess goal number one for probably at least the next year or two is to have basically as much cash saved as possible to buy those.
Yeah.
And it's not just like you're not just paying, say you could scoop up a multi-unit in Crafton Heights for $12,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well then now I got to put $5,000 into it. I got to pay the transfer tax.
Mm-hmm.
All said and done, I'm probably around $25,000 for a house I thought was like $10,000. So it's like you really do have to have so much more capital than you would have imagined before you started researching investment real estate.
Right.
Luckily, I had the advantage because I help clients do that already.
Yeah.
So I guess I do have a leg up. In a way, I get the properties before most people, and I've had so much formal professional training about it that I really do. I guess I understand more about doing it diligently. I know there's a lot of ways to do investment real estate because I know a lot of people that do. I don't even know what they call it. I think it's like is it a hard money lender or something?
Yeah. As far as is there strategies or?
Yeah. So you don't necessarily have to save up like $50,000.
Like the Burr method or something like that. Too. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the only one I know.
They're like I just feel like the easiest way for me, and for most people, would be if you could scoop up a cheaper unit, pay cash, and then maybe get a line of credit for the work. But I just don't know how I feel about like seller financing. Actually, I do know how I feel. I just don't want to rip people apart. But I don't want to. I know a lot of people start their investment business with real estate doing seller financing and stuff like that, which you could theoretically do with only like a few $1,000s in your bank account. Yeah. I just feel like when you're doing it that way, then the sellers you're financing off of own your business instead of you.
Right.
So that's my qualm, I guess, my little rant on that.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Yeah. There's a, I guess it's slightly related too. I hear people mostly on TikTok. I don't know if you've got it on TikTok yet, but like
my sister sent me videos on there all day. I haven't made one yet.
There's a couple creators on there that do like wholesaling. So I guess what is that? You buy something for somebody's selling for 15. You write up a contract that says I'll buy for 15, and then you go find somebody to buy for 30. So because that sounds a little too good to be true. Because how does that actually work?
So so it's actually funny. This real cool dude. I had a Zoom meeting with a dude that's like new to wholesaling, and he wanted to just basically talk just about like marketing and stuff like that. And I actually learned a lot from him about wholesaling. I don't do wholesaling. I actually don't even know if it's legal since I'm a licensed agent. For me.
I don't know.
But from what I understand, and if someone like knows better, sorry if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, if there's a property, I'm a wholesaler. Say you have a property that's in pretty bad condition.
Yeah.
I put it under contract for $10,000. I think at some point in that contract, I basically put in a release clause, which says I put it under contract in June. Closing is September. If I don't sell it by the end of August, I can get out of the contract. I'll put a clause in like that. So then if I put it under contract, $10,000, that's what I'd owe you when it sells.
Yeah.
I'll spend all of July and August marketing that thing for like $15,000, $20,000.
Mm-hmm.
If I get someone to pay $20,000, I break the seller off that $10,000, and then I keep that $10,000 in excess for myself. If it epically fails and I can only find a buyer for like $6,000 and I have it under contract to pay you $10,000, I just terminate the contract if I'm a wholesaler, which is why the I think it is legal.
Yeah.
Ethically, I guess it's not my place to speak on it. I don't know how it's kind of like okay, because what a lot of them, it seems like they tell sellers is like, we'll pay cash for your house, giving them the impression that like I'm just going to buy your house, which is not what they do.
I see. Do you think that has anything to do with that we buy houses shit?
That's exactly what we buy.
That's what, that makes sense now.
Disclaimer, the kid I talked to said, I should definitely say this, a few wholesalers, he said, give everybody a bad name.
Yeah.
So he said there's a lot of honest ones that will actually tell you straight up what the terms are of the contract and everything.
I gotcha.
But I figured I'd put a disclaimer. There's probably, and definitely I would think, are a lot of good wholesalers.
Yeah, I could see, though, why some people wouldn't want to say that, because I was thinking, like, how is this? This sounds too good to be true. Like, I can just not buy it if I don't find somebody else to buy it. It's like no risk for certain wholesalers if you put that in the contract.
Essentially.
It's wild, yeah.
And they'll make I know some will make like a net of, and this is just from me researching it because I was just curious. Like, it sounds like it shouldn't be legal or okay, like you said, because it's too good to be true. Some of them will make like a quick $15,000 off just selling like a $30,000 house for like $50,000 or something. Yeah. They'll clear like a quick $15,000. Like, if I was to sell a $45,000 house, I'm maybe making a 15th of that.
Yeah.
That's so insane, their profit margin. They don't even have to go get their license or take a test.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get into that.
That's what I'm saying. I may have picked the wrong thing. I think I'm just salty.
Just redact the license and just go into wholesaling.
Wait, what the hell?
I'm just gonna rip this up real quick. Just slide over there. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting though. I like I said, I heard about that, and I'm glad that you explained that, and maybe I'll get into it. I don't know. We'll see. One day.
It actually isn't like a terrible. It's not a terrible idea if you want to make cash.
Yeah,
I'd probably just figure out a little more than I know, because I'm probably that's as far as I know is just how the system works.
Yeah.
I also do actually know a few people that were so mad what the job wholesalers did, but I also know a few people that were really happy.
Yeah.
So I guess there's happy wholesale transactions. I just know you can make really good money doing it.
I'm sure there's a strategy. People have figured it out. You just probably have to kind of copy it and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, and probably marketing, which you're already learning, like you already know how to do. It's basically what you've done. So
yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day. I wanted to ask a question to get your insight on it. It goes back to sort of our conversation about pros and cons of like working for yourself, and more specifically, I think that your specific situation, being like a 1099 employee, right, is different, much different, obviously, than being W-2. But it's even more different than kind of being like just somebody that just has a business or whatever, like, just started up their own thing. You're still obviously that, but you're subcontracted by the brokerage. So what do you think, and you don't have to speak specifically to like Howard Hanna or Remax per se, but like, what do you think in general are some pros and cons of being affiliated with somebody like that? Do you ever see any like tough pieces, maybe even from the marketing perspective? Like, do you think there's a lot of pros or a lot of cons to having to dual brand your content, to having to do all these other things? I know that when I was there, compliance is a real thing that you have to deal with, and it's kind of annoying to a certain, and it's understandable. Obviously, you're under their umbrella, but like, what are your thoughts on that, sort of like just in general?
So, I mean, number one, it honestly goes both ways, because there's been times like I've literally sat in an open house and I've had people walk in and go, I want to buy a house. Like, maybe not this one, but I came in here because I saw your name and I want to work with a big company, Howard Hanna.
Right.
You have good reviews, but I basically really only got them because I work for a giant. Whereas if I was a smaller company, I wouldn't have got them. So it's gotten me business in a few ways indirectly. I've also had situations though. Howard Hanna is such a big company. Mm-hmm. A lot of like the general public tends to group every Hanna. The reality is we're all individual agents.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like if you work for Howard Hanna and I work for Howard Hanna, we could have such different philosophies and total opposite of how we do our business.
Yeah.
The general public's going to group us together. So if, and I hope to God this is nobody's actual name, if Ryan Smith lists a house and he couldn't sell it in like 6 months and told them like it was worth more money and just didn't do a great job.
Yeah.
And then I was in talks with them to be the next person to list. I've basically had situations like that where it's like, see, we're actually going to go with this other agent because we already tried Howard Hanna and it didn't work.
Right.
So in a way, there's so many agents that sometimes one will give a certain consumer a bad impression and ruin it for every other Howard Hanna agent. Mm-hmm. Not that it's the agent's fault. Sometimes real estate's just hard.
Right.
But in the same token, the pro is I've literally had people call or walk into my open houses and say, hey, I want to work with you. I trust it because you're a big brand. You guys have a whole legal team or something like a lot more trust with a big brand. So the pro is it can get you business. The con is there's a lot more people out there for the general public. Like there's a lot more people out there to sway people's opinion of you. So I might not even know someone in Hanover Township that's selling houses, but then this is no one specific, I swear to God. But they might do something like they might do their job completely right, but someone's not happy with the way they marketed their house.
Right.
Okay, my marketing might be 80 times more effective, but I'll never get the chance because they have the same big brand.
Yeah.
So there's pros and cons to it. I do like the backing you get though, as in we get a decent CRM. There's always someone to ask questions to. It's such a big company. Mm-hmm. Anytime, like, it's also huge, but it's funny because it's not like Kelly Hanna is one of the people at Howard Hanna, and like we can literally just call her. She's like part of the family that owns it.
Yeah.
You can literally just call her directly and ask questions and talk to her. Mm-hmm. And it's like you're talking to like your colleague, like not someone that's like, so for a huge company, they do a really good job, I would say, at keeping the higher ups really close to the agents, which was probably the craziest thing about how big of a company and how they do that with me. Like, I feel like I personally know like Kelly Hanna, and I'm sure every other agent in the area feels the same way, which I think that's saying a lot for them. That's a huge accomplishment for a company to make people feel like that.
Yeah.
So that's a pro too. You feel like your higher ups are really behind you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good dynamic. I mean, I think there's, obviously like what you said there's pros and cons because, you're kind of slightly battling for branding and stuff like that, but there's a lot of benefit. They give you a lot of tools. You're able to leverage, being part of a bigger company. I think that all makes sense. And too, like maybe comment on, I think some real estate agents, maybe people that are trying to get into the industry and just people in general, competition might scare them. So talk about being a real estate agent at a big company like Hanna, and also like in a pretty dense, area. Like there's a lot of different big companies around here. Like there's different Remax brokerages, franchises. There's Hanna, there's Berkshire Hathaway. There's newer ones coming in like Pyatt Sotheby's and all these other places. Oh, yeah. Talk about like the dynamic that is you're competing against everyone, but also you kind of have to work with everyone. What has that done for you?
So, number one, the competing part was like, that goes back to all the way we used to play like wiffle ball in your yard. Like I just wanted to compete at things since I was a little kid. Yeah. So the competition to me has never been something that like I thrive in that.
Yeah.
It's good for me. It pushes you to be better. As far as working with other people though that you're competing with, it's really funny because like, and this is just an example, but me and you could go toe to toe fighting for a listing because anymore it's never like, all right, Carlo, come down and see my ranch or my split entry and let's list it by the end of the day. It's like, hey, I saw your name on the internet. I want to give you a chance. So it's you and 5 other people we're interviewing. And that's just the modern day since so many agents.
Yeah.
So you could really be at someone's throat, like not you're talking bad, but just competing really hard. Like I can do this, and this really well.
Right.
Honestly, though, the second you get the listing, like me and you could be in such hard competition
Yeah.
You end up bringing the buyer to my listing, and then it's weird how the common goal is now let's just get this house closed.
Right.
So it's super weird, and I think most agents I've worked with done a good job at this. Like, we're very, very, very competitive, at least the good ones. But when it comes time to work together and have to be on the same team, same goal, once we're actually under transaction trying to close it, honestly, most agents are so good at putting any competitive like beef aside and just doing their job. That's what's so unique about, like you said, this industry. You could almost compare it to like, you have an NFL game. Not that we're anywhere near like the status of that. It's just a good comparison.
Yeah.
Like, dude, someone on the Broncos and Steelers, like, they literally might live together in the off season in Miami.
Yeah.
Absolute best of friends. But when they play each other, they hate each other. They're darn near like stomping each other, punching each other, like whatever they have to do.
Right.
But immediately after the game's over, they're fine. Or the next year, remember, like with the Steelers, Mike Wallace was a Steeler for the longest time. Okay, then he went to the Ravens, and now they hate each other. But it's so weird. Like, it's a lot like football, is to where you can be competitive 1 second, but the second it's mutually beneficial to achieve a goal, everyone kind of coheres to that. And I don't know how well I explain that, but I hope something in there makes sense.
No, yeah, for sure. I empathize with it a lot because, I mean, I think about it the same with, I play sports and stuff like that. I still play ball hockey, and it's the same thing. I mean, if you're friends, then normally you're friends unless you're in that spirit of competition right there, and then it kind of just goes back to it. So that's awesome that from your experience, a lot of agents are able to put that to the wayside.
As long as you have like a level of professionalism too, and it's not like we're competing, but it's not like we're going after the same seller and going like, wow, John over there, he just sucks. Like, it's not like we're ever doing that.
Right.
With most agents, especially the decent ones, like, there's professionalism to it, like kind of like an unspoken code. Like, go in there and talk about what you can do and how excellent your service is and numbers and this and that. So it's competitive in that way, but it's never really personal competition. Like, I would hope nobody's going in there and going, Carlo Sorco sucks. He goes like 90 miles an hour on the highway, and like, nobody really does that. It's more so like, my recent marketing videos have gotten this many views, converted to this like little days on market and this high of price.
Yeah.
And that stuff's really easy to put aside when the competition's over. So I think a lot of it is because a lot of agents are a lot more professional and they're given credit for, and they're good at separating business from emotions. I think that's actually a necessity in this, because you can have an agent you've been best friends with for years. The second they're representing the buyer and you're representing the seller, you're going to freaking duke it out for like a day or two.
Yeah.
And you have to be good at saying, okay, that day or two is about business. Now we're best friends again.
Yeah.
I think that's just a trait you either have or you don't. But if you don't have it, it'd be really tough doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that. Another question for you, as to tie most of this together, or at least give some insight on the current state of affairs and everything. So you've been in business for about 2 years, and experience in real estate. What has like the last, I don't even know what month we're on, like this whole year, really, the last 6 months or so, how has that affected it? What was the kind of compare and contrast, like this versus the initial, almost year and a half run up to that? You're getting everything going, you're ramping up and everything, and then something like this happens where it's like a total crazy, once in a lifetime basically event. We don't need to go into like the deep part of it, but how has it affected you, the real estate industry? Still though, I think there's probably some pros, maybe a little bit in there, but like, what are like, just give me a state of the union almost.
So that's so official. So my state of the union. Before, and I would imagine what you're referencing is like the whole COVID shutdown when it was very, very much heated up. Not that it still isn't. We just have a little more things open.
Right.
Before that, everything was pretty good. It was like a normal market. We were selling houses at a good pace. We were able to get deals, but not everything was a bidding war. You'd be able to negotiate a little bit on cost. Me and my mom were probably doing like a few deals, sometimes 5, sometimes less. It was a normal market.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we had 5 deals under transaction. We just closed a couple, and then we come home. one day, and then basically we get like emails like shut it all down, like you guys
Shut
can't
it
do
all.
anything. We're like,
Shut it all down.
yeah, and I'm like, what the hell does that even mean? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And I think I was like, well, honestly, this sucks. So I think I
Yeah.
like sat on my couch for like a few hours and just watched like TV and tried to like mentally compress it all.
Yeah.
So during the shutdown, like all that stopped. We had a good amount of business. I honestly think I personally had like more production in like the couple months before COVID than I've like ever personally had in a 2-month span.
Right.
COVID came and like that might as well have all been forgotten about because like everything was shut down. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I probably lost like a third of my clients just from having to tell them for 2.5 months straight, like, I can't take you to see this house. I can't go meet with you to list this house. Cause I really was following the rules super well because I didn't want the fine.
Right.
I just didn't. So I was really following the rules super well, and we lost a good amount of business during that time. But
lost it to other real estate agents.
I don't know if we lost it to other real estate agents or it's just sales. So I more so mean someone might be excited about buying a house right now.
Right.
But 2 months down the line, they may have thought about it a little more and went with a new car instead.
I got you. Yeah, a lot of timing. Gotcha. Okay.
So I think we probably lost like maybe not a third, but close to a third of our clients we had in kind of our pipeline to just like the idea dying down because they had to wait. Like, I decided I want to buy a house today. Maybe in 3 months I can look for one.
Right.
Kind of tough to keep that going.
Yeah.
Not to make it sound like in our business, like literally every client is like family to us. Like we treat them so well. But if you're literally purely looking at numbers, if someone has a turnaround time, they tell you they want to see a house today and you can't get them out for 2 months, they're probably never going to buy a house, or they're probably, it's going to be a lot harder to convert. That's just what statistics say.
For sure.
Now, the nice thing is, as soon as COVID was done, like literally the day it was done,
the day it was reopened.
I'm sorry, it's definitely not done.
Just want to clarify, it's still here.
I believe in COVID, so it's like it's
We're
here.
6 feet here. Yes.
The day I was allowed to leave the house to work again, with masks and like appropriate attire. The day that happened, I basically I don't even know how many deals we put under, but I personally, I think I put like, I want to say it was 5 or 6 under in a month, and my mom did the same thing. So we literally had like 12 or 13 deals within like a month and a half span. Yeah. Some of them still closing out. So, well, story short, it was like a fairly regular market, little bit of a seller's market before COVID, but not too crazy. COVID happened. There was virtually no market at all. Some people bought the virtual home things. I didn't do that because I'm like, okay, that seems like a real big risk, because what happens when they see this video, marketing video online, buy the house, and then they're like, this doesn't match. So I didn't think there was enough science on what the repercussions could be to make that part of my business really.
Right.
But after COVID, like the market is so ridiculous because interest rates are like well below 3% for a lot of people. Yeah. I think I just had someone get like a 2.7 something, which is insane. So the interest rates are really low, and there's also like not too many listings still, because some people still, rightfully so, whatever your judgment is, rightfully so, I respect it. Some people don't want to put their house on the market right now because they don't think it's best for their family, which I get. So there's probably a good 70% of the houses you're getting like 5-6 offers on. Yeah. So to really survive right now, there's a lot of business to be had, but to really survive, you better be more than just a marketer. Like, you better know how to win these bidding wars. I think my last one I ended up winning, but there was like 46 showings and 10 offers on like under $200,000 house in Carnegie.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where we're at with the market. Like there's a ton of buyers for a few listings.
Yeah, everything's getting scooped. Yeah, I know a couple people I think that are they're casually looking. Obviously, now is an interesting time to be, just perusing the market and everything. It's like anything that's in a half decent area with like, it's in good condition, relatively decent cost, like just gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, it's gone right away.
It's so gone, and it's like it's so tough because like literally there's a lot of offers being won by cash buyers. Which is nice. I think now, like, more important than ever, especially if you're young and might not know this, is like, well, if you want a chance at winning these bidding wars, you can absolutely do it. Yeah. But you just got to get creative. Yeah. I'm not going to tell my secrets, but the one thing I can say is, like, really pay attention to, like, what kind of loan you're getting, because 7 times out of 10, a conventional loan is going to win over an FHA loan in a bidding war. And as a buyer, it's going to sound like you want an FHA loan, which basically offers a more seller assist. So the seller will cover some of your closing costs.
Yep.
In a bidding war, that's not realistic because it's competition. So if you could still get your house now, it's just hard to be a casual looker that's only out to, like, you really only want a house where you're going to get a really good deal on it.
Right.
Right now, you're probably going to pay pretty close to market value, sometimes over list, to get a decent house. Now, the investment market game is a little different. Those houses, some of them are still pretty negotiable. It's gotten a little harder. Some of them still fly off the handle, but that's really the only place I've really gotten anybody deals lately. Well, no, I shouldn't say it like that. That's the only place people were able to pay substantially under list price.
I gotcha.
Everything else, if you really want to buy a house right now, you should be prepared to pay list for it because it's probably the minimum it's going.
Gotcha.
Casual lookers, it might be kind of tough right now.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere.
Right, for sure. So so you mentioned there for like investment properties. Do you also do, in addition to residential, do you do like commercial as well?
So I actually do, but not often.
Yeah.
So I have one person, I don't want to get too specific. I'm trying to like get her a storefront she wants to make.
Because that's a whole different beast.
It's a whole different beast. Yeah. And I did like a fair amount of like training stuff for it.
Yeah.
So we can do it. I will help people occasionally if they want to like lease out a commercial space to market it.
Right.
I don't do a ton of commercial though. I think last year I had someone that wanted to buy a church, so I did a bunch of documentation and paperwork for that. So it was a church, so that's technically commercial. Only a couple though. I have people reach out to me for commercial leasing. Sometimes it's something we do, but really a good 98% of my business is residential.
Gotcha.
I'd like to get into commercial. I just don't dabble too much in it unless it's like someone, I don't try to get business in it unless it's like a friend or something that's like, hey, my mom, or hey, I want to open up a storefront. I'll help them, but I don't really do it too often. Not to say if someone out there wants to give me like a $3 million commercial listing, let's go.
Yeah.
I'll be the best at it. But
yeah, I'll take it.
yeah, it's just not like my domain, I guess.
I feel you. Well, I don't know, man. That's a lot of good info on the real estate industry. I think, and like we've been talking about, it's an interesting place to be. I think I would say, I was not in it as a realtor, but realtors are a special breed. A lot of them are hard workers. A lot of them are, you got to be a go-getter, like so many other things.
A little bit crazy in the head.
Yeah. Well, here and there, a couple, but I mean, you gotta want it, and you gotta go after it. And I think that is very, characteristic of the industry as a whole, so, no, man, I'm so happy for you that you're moving along and you're doing, all this good stuff. And it sounds like, obviously we've known each other for a long time, but just like the maturity level and, the growth and knowledge and how you've come to know yourself and everything like that with, going through those experiences through college, finding out that, you want to go almost the path of, some of your family members have gone into, now working with your mom. It sounds like you're building like a, tremendous empire there with everything
Hopefully.
You're doing. Yeah. And I mean, it just takes time, like we said. So,
it's fun in the meantime. It's, honestly though, it's just like, it's honestly a blessing to work for yourself in general and make like at least a respectable income.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm not like getting rich yet. Like I want to be, there's something like I'm very grateful to be at the level I'm at and be able to provide myself like a decent enough salary to live on and everything. And not have to worry about having to go back to the W-2 life because that would be, I know some people love that.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. I mean, it's, like you and I would probably say, self-employed, be your own boss, like every day of the week. But
I'd take less money to do that if I had to.
There are some people that would do it the other way. And I mean, that's a tough thing for me because as somebody that likes to have these conversations and likes to do that, I can't fully empathize with it. But, there are two sides to everything, just because it's, not something we would do. It's like, other people might be the best thing that they have in their lives. It's interesting.
I know, like, yeah. And I even have, I know, like, my older sisters, like, they love, they're both accountants and they're sick at it. Like, they're the best at it. But they love what they're doing. And, like, I've talked to them plenty of times just about the differences. They love being W-2 employees. They love the idea of, okay, like I go to work at 9, I'm done at 5. I know I'm done at 5. No BS after 5.
Yep.
like I'm going to go grind for 8 hours and then I get to do whatever I want. I'm going to have benefits. I know how much money's coming every 2 weeks. There's a lot to be said about that, and I see why people want that life. Which there's pros to it. It's just like you said, it's just not for everybody. There's no one size fits all in life.
As long as you know self-awareness, then pick the right path or find the right path, and I think that you'll be golden. So I'm glad that we're both on that path and we're progressing. That's tremendous. I want to hit you with I've been calling them the 3 final questions or something like that, but I want to hit you with like the last 3 things that I want to do with every guest. So the preface to the first one is, I'll use myself as an example. Obviously, and we've talked about this already, there's been so much in our lives that we have learned, right? We've experienced mostly through other people, right? Like you were mentioning earlier, you learned a lot about how to market through other real estate agents, and that's how you've gotten to the level of success you're at today, right? So similarly with me, and not just marketing, it can be about anything. It can be anyone, anybody that you know directly, somebody on the internet that you've never met in person, whatever. The question is, and I think this always speaks to people, the type of people that each individual is, and the type of person they're becoming. Who would you say are your 3 biggest influences? Again, they could be in your life, they could be indirect, they could be on the internet, whatever. Like just 3 biggest influences on you. And they don't actually have to be people either. I always say that, but it could be like a body of people. It could be like a community, just 3 entities almost that have had the most impact on you so far.
So I'll start as my first one is the most generic one, but it obviously applies to me. My mom's obviously been a huge influence on me because she's, like I said, 20 years experience doing exactly what I do. Who better? Outside of that, I really have a lot of people, like just other realtors I follow on Instagram. I know a big one, and like everybody knows him probably from a little bit different. He used to have a TV show, that Ryan Serhant guy. So he did the $1 Million Listing, but I really started like him because he came out with a book maybe like a year ago now, and like I'm fat right now because COVID got me out of the routine, but I would at least listen to the audiobook, obviously not read it. I would listen to the audiobook and like work out every morning. And it was honestly such a useful book. I took so many lessons of life out of it. He had one thing that I kind of referenced to earlier, probably in a different way, but he basically says, when you're in business, juggle so many balls in the air. If you're juggling as many balls as you can in the air at once, you're bound to catch at least a few.
Right.
So that basically meant to me, grind out every day, keep having so many feelers out there, keep having so many directions you could convert leads on that you're bound to get a few. That's something that translated to me, and I actually like read a lot of the stuff he does. I've paid for some of his training.
Yeah.
He's a real big influence on me as far as that. The other one, and it's super cliche, but it actually applies to me, which I think a lot of young people, and either way, it's fine, however you believe, but really a huge influence on me has always been God, like in my business. Just kind of how I was raised. I take a lot of, and don't get me wrong, like I can have a really fun time, but when it comes to business and like ethics, I guess, I take a lot of what Christianity has done for me, and I'm sure 100 other religions can do the same thing with. So I'm not saying like I have the best religion. Right. I don't care if someone believes in a wall; I could still be my best friend. But for me, that's something that's really helped me. Number one, it just helps me deal with the day-to-day of stresses. Like I honestly believe everything happens for a reason. I believe if you work super hard and just have faith, you're going to get rewarded. And it's just been like a nice code of ethics to live my life with. When it comes to business, be honest, treat other people well. Sometimes it's more worth it to be realistic and say, okay, you guys aren't going to be happy with this house, instead of like, you could have got them to buy it and get a commission check, but that's not like the godly way to do things.
Right.
I also feel very attached because I feel like with all my F-ups dropping out of college and whatnot, I think God's really blessed me.
Yeah.
And like, what are the odds I would have had the opportunity to like make all of the mistakes,
right,
and then still end up at a place where I'm happy in life and what I want to do. So I think God would probably be like my third big one, as cliche as that sounds. I know when people start talking about God on podcasts and stuff, I'm like, all right, well, enough like Bible thumping, but it's true for me. I just don't want to go too far into it, but that's a big one.
We didn't get a chance to talk about that specifically, but no, I mean, it resonates with me as well. I think it's not for me, it's not about like the religion itself. It's about everything that comes because of it, right?
Mhm.
Like just, everything that, the way that you've been raised, obviously very high moral code, ethics, like you mentioned, that is so vital in anything that you do, but specifically when you're talking to, clients and you're like, yeah, you know what, this house sucks. So let's look at another one. Stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's very important.
I think it is too. It's so helpful for me.
Yeah.
It's just always been a big thing. And it is like honesty's huge.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I mean that applies to a lot of realtors. I don't know any realtor that would purposely lead someone into a bad
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's more of the ethics than anything that comes along with just kind of understanding the Bible and your religion. It's just a good moral code to practice, I think. Who's to say what the actual truth is in the world?
Right.
But, I just pick what I like because I like the moral and how you live with what religion I'm in.
Right.
A lot of it's probably, I was raised Italian, Roman Catholic, so probably didn't stand much of a chance there anyways. But
I'm with you there. Yep. That's same boat. Those are great. I like I said, empathize with each one of those. Gonna have to check out. I think I've seen Ryan's Sirhank. I think it's
Sirhan or Sirhard or whatever.
I think I've seen him. I'll have to check him again though. He sounds like a cool guy. I don't think I've checked out all of his content, but I will definitely look at that.
Super positive. You just want to some of the stuff he puts out is pretty gimmicky because he is on Bravo and has a TV show.
Yeah.
But a lot of his actual training stuff he'll put out is really, really informational. Mm-hmm. He's two different personalities. You just don't want to really check out the gimmicky side of him. It's not as good.
I feel you. Yeah. Second question is very broad and probably a medley of things that we've talked about. But if you had somebody come up to you, for instance, or maybe a fellow realtor or anybody, somebody that you were maybe even your kids or something like that one day, the question in and of itself is, what is your best advice? You gotta tell somebody comes up to you, hey, what's your best life advice so far, Carlo? What are you gonna tell them?
Oh yeah. Pretty much just hey, we kind of talked about it earlier. Don't treat, it's gonna be weird to say, but don't treat everything as such a big deal.
Yeah.
That's probably what I wish I would have learned earlier in life. Through college and everything. If I had a test coming up, it was the biggest thing in life.
Yeah.
If I failed it, oh my God, I couldn't stomach that. If something little happened, I would get a ticket, my God, life sucks so bad.
Right.
That mindset really keeps you down because you always kind of have something to be worried about or something you feel like you're not doing well. So what I mean is don't stress over everything and don't make everything a big deal. Is life has punches and sometimes you have to get punched in the face and recognize it's just life doing what it does. Move on. That's what I think would be the biggest advice that I had to learn myself from failing and probably overreacting to minor things in life.
Yeah.
Letting those things spiral and not be the most productive atmosphere. I mean, I still always studied that I was supposed to do, but ever since I realized that as much as I love everybody, one little small thing that happens in a deal that I could overcome isn't worth me fretting about for 3 hours. It's better for me to just handle it
for sure
and keep the same attitude. I think having a consistent level attitude, not getting too high, not getting too low about anything, is some good advice I would give definitely to my kids or whoever.
Yeah.
Especially in real estate, you gotta once you start getting on that emotional roller coaster and you're so hype about this deal and so down about losing this one, every day is going to be so freaking sporadic for you. Really, the biggest thing is adopting that consistent mindset, especially during work hours.
Yeah.
Just don't ride the wave,
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, it can definitely get exhausting. It's
easier said than done too.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's tremendous advice, man. Last one is really kind of just, ultimately a layup and a plug for you guys. I'll have in the show description, the notes and everything like that on YouTube and everywhere this goes, links to everywhere. But where, if you're in a grocery store or something like that, where can people follow you? Where can people find out what you guys are doing?
So I send everybody, and we have work websites and stuff, but I think what really separates us is the way I set up my Instagram as an actual website. So if you were to go on my timeline, it's not me just posting with my fish or something or next to the pond. I always send anybody that wants to go there to my Instagram. It's Carlo _Sorco _realtor, and let me just make sure I didn't butcher that.
Yeah, like I said, there'll be a direct link too in the
Yeah.
description below. But yeah,
So it's there, and then from there, I have a link to like my Zillow page, which is a
Yeah.
little more professional. If someone's looking to interview me,
Yeah.
they can kind of like check out my reviews, what I've sold, where I've sold it, this and that.
Yeah.
But I always send people to my Instagram, and then if they want, click the links in the bio, and you can kind of go from there.
Yeah.
It's probably my main place. For people that hate Instagram, I send them to my Facebook, Tammy and Carlo Sorco Realtor. You can find some good stuff there.
Gotcha.
But my Instagrams, I definitely get more personal on the stories.
Yeah.
And sometimes say things I think is funny. I'm not sure if you will. I laugh, so.
That's all that matters, man. As long as you're having fun, like we said. So, but this has been tremendous, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm happy to do it. It was a fun time. It was a nice just relax in my day and just talk for a little bit.
Absolutely, man. I think we got a lot of good content out of here. I think that our listeners hopefully got a lot of value out of it. I know that I did. And just appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, dude. Happy to do it. I hope this keeps spiraling upwards for you.
Same here, man.
So when you're Joe Rogan, you can plug me again.
Yeah, you'll be on like every day.
That'll work.
We'll bring you on again. Maybe one day when we're not in the garage, we have a studio and everything.
I think you still keep the garage vibe. There's just like we were saying earlier, there's something about the grind of a garage, or there's just something about it, dude. Everything starts from a garage.
That's it, man. But again, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Fueled by Progress with our guest, Carlo Sorco. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in the next one.